we and the others, we and them. Those who are different, who think different, who look different from us. We grow up in societies creating differences, creating us and the other. Even just by the way we talk, we create others. But did you ever ask yourself who you are and where do you belong? And even if you didn't ask yourself, of course someone asked you, where are you from? All of us know this question. And if you, maybe the one who asked the question was not really satisfied by your answer, if you don't really look the way he expected if you come from this country. So the next question is inevitable. No, where are you really from? As if you were lying. Why should you be lying? So we know this question, and we know the question after it. And after the people get to know where you are really from and know your origins, then they have another question, because they wonder, but why is your German so good? I mean, your German is so good. So don't get me wrong, I don't want you to feel bad if you ask someone in your life where he or she is from, but is it really so important to ask someone you just got to know immediately where he is from or where she is from? So I'm just wondering, who are they, who are we, and where do you belong? Did you ever also think about it, maybe how it could affect someone you ask, where are you from? Or who is asked, no, where are you really from? So this is a question, I think, which is important we have to be aware on. Even if you ask them, where are you from, doesn't it imply that you tell them you're not from here, you don't belong? So there's a study published 2007 in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, and it shows that human beings need to belong. They need to belong to one another, they need to belong to their families, to their friends, to a country, to a culture, to the world. So belonging is fundamental for our sense of happiness and well-being. Belonging has a lot of consequences. Our interests, our motivation, and even our health and our happiness are tied to the feeling that we belong. So, but we have fixed images. We think we know what a professor looks like, what a cleaning lady looks like. We think we know what a refugee looks like. We think we know. Many people tell me about their experiences when they make, for example, phone calls and talk about a certain issue, and then they tell their names, and then they recognize, okay, the other person is wondering, or even if they meet the person, it's like, oh, I didn't think you're different. So, yes, we live in a diverse world, and diversity is our reality. I mean, how boring would it be if we all looked the same? Also, a question we could think about. So I think what is important is to concentrate on what unifies us and not on what makes us different. But there's not only one truth or one reality. How we see the world, how we perceive the world, is shaped of our perspectives, our education, our social class, our experiences. All of these things shape the way we perceive the world and also shape the way we classify and categorize and label people. So we need to listen to different perspectives, otherwise we will miss out on so much in this life, because everyone has his own perspective and his own story. So I think we also need to especially listen to those who have lost their voices. People who have lost their voices, we should help them gain their voice again. And especially in times like these, where we have right-wing parties increasing which are vastly increasing in popularity, where we have organized hate crimes, where we have so many things. That's the time where it's important and where we need to stick to the facts and bring people back together. We need to connect them through telling their stories, and rather than dividing them or spreading hatred amongst them by telling how different they are. So, as journalists, we have the ethical obligation to consider all facts and to listen to everyone. We are the embodied hope of so many people who have lost their voices and who have no hope, and also those who have faced a lot of injustice. We need to hold those accountable who violate human rights. We have the power to connect people through telling their stories. As example, or let's talk about refugees. Refugees, a word, which picture do you have if you hear the word refugee? Maybe it seems like a big, faceless mass with no voice, just a homogeneous mass. We see refugees maybe also often as numbers, and I wanted to change that. I saw them underrepresented, and in most of the discussions where we talk about refugees, we make them to objects, not to subjects who they are. They are subjects who can take their life in their hands and decide for themselves. So I think we must listen to different people to understand their perspective and to be able to see the bigger picture. At birth, nobody asks you who would you like to have as your mother and who would you like to have as your father and which country and which nationality would you like to choose. Some things are just given. We can't change them, and we don't have any say whatsoever in it. We are born, we're given a nationality, and with this, the grace of living in peace and freedom. Or not. During history class back at school, I thought war belongs to the past. I thought war is something which shall and should and will never happen again. But I had to see and to recognize that war is part of our reality, and we can choose if we want to ignore it or if we want to recognize it. It really got under my skin when I met so many people who survived war and who came to Europe, and I really recognized how privileged and how blessed I am. When I was in Turkey and in Greece and on the Balkan route to make some research for my book I wrote about or with refugees about their stories, many people thought I'm fleeing to Europe. So it was a new thought for me that yes, maybe it could have been me. It could have been me who is sitting in Turkey and waiting for the smuggler to take her to the boat and to come to Europe. So also in Greece, when I showed my Austrian passport to the officer and he looked multiple times on it in disbelief, it was like, yes, it could have been me. And that's why we can't say it doesn't matter to us, because it could also have been you. It could have been us. And you know what? When I met so many people who did so many stuff to stay alive and to look for a better future, I really realized how valuable life is. Often we take being alive as self-evident, but it is not self-evident. So being alive is a blessing and a privilege. And yes, maybe we cannot define our nationality, our background, our skin color, but still we are powerful because we can define who we are and who we want to be. So don't let others define who you are. Don't let others define who you will be. Stand up and get your voice and speak for yourself, because it's your life. The past years, as I said, I met many people who left their countries and who have lost everything. I wanted to tell their stories. I wanted to give them their voice by my pen, and I also helped translating to give something back. I had to see for myself what they have to face, which challenges do they have to face to come to Europe and live the way we live. So I remember this one night on the Austrian-Hungarian border in Nickelsdorf, where I was translating and where people kept coming and coming and coming, and it was very late, or maybe it was even morning, and most of the people have gotten on the buses and left, and then I found a woman with her children and their grandmother. And I went to them and I thought, okay, maybe it's time for a joke. I went to her and said, okay, hello, sorry, ma'am, you're too late, you've missed your flight, you have to wait here 2 hours. So we've laughed a lot and we really enjoyed our time. We talked a lot, but I could see how she had no strength. She was so exhausted she couldn't even move her legs. But somehow, something from within gave her strength. Maybe it was the vision of having a new home or the vision of belonging somewhere new. And when we were sitting, we were talking about everything. We were talking about old Egyptian movies and we were singing songs. And although at the beginning I felt sorry for her because she had to wait so long in this cold and rainy night. At the end, it was not so easy to say goodbye because we really enjoyed our time. So I really learned from her and from many people I met that you can always concentrate on the positive sides of life, and you can always look at the half full glass, and it's always possible to reach for what you want and to fight for what you want. Her name was Mona, and when I came back, she got to the bus, and we had to say goodbye very quickly. And at this moment, she told me, Nermin, I'm really happy I could meet you. Now I know my daughter will belong, and now I know my daughter will have the opportunities to be the one she wants to be. So what we often forget is that behind those numbers, behind those refugees, there are individuals. There are individuals such like Mona, and they have their stories and they have their very own destinies. And I made it my mission to put a spotlight on these people, to put a spotlight on marginalized group who we don't ask. And even Syrians or even refugees, we maybe think, okay, those are refugees, but maybe we don't think, who are they? We don't ask them about their life. They had a life before the war started. They are more than just refugees. So we have very often like fixed images, and I think it's important to get distinguished pictures and to get to know the people and talk to them. So if we look, and even if we have a picture, and if we look at the picture, we in fact only see a small part, because there's still a lot cut out. And we will always see different stuff in this picture, depending on our own personality, on our own experiences, on our own perception of the world. So what I think is important is that we let there be discussion, allow other perspective in our small little worldview. Listen to people with different backgrounds, different cultures, different nations. Make your own experience with the so-called others. And yeah, the question is, who are they and who are we? And what is the difference? And where are we? Or where are you? Are you somewhere in between? You don't have to be. You don't have to fit into a box. You can be whoever you want, and that is very important, because it doesn't matter what other people think who you are or where you belong. It's important who you want to be, and it's important what your inner passion is, and you should reach out for that. So there is no us and there is no they. There is no us and there is no they. We're all humans, and we all have the right to belong where we are, to belong where we want to belong, and to be whoever we want to be. Thank you. Thank you.